What's going on, everybody? Thank you all for tuning in. This is the Weekend Juicebox Heroes podcast. I'm one of your hosts, PK. And as always, we have Sweet B Bones Browse is in the house. Homer Chris is on vacation with the fam. He'll be back. I guess, later on this week. But Browse, how's it going, bud?
Good, man. It's doing. I'm doing fantastic, and just want to say thank you guys for holding it down on New Year's. We had some family in town, which was fantastic. So a lot of good food, a lot of celebrating stuff like that, which was awesome. But wanted to give a big shout out to my buddy Jose, who we played golf with today at Beacon Lakes. You know, we were talking about Astros baseball almost the whole time. Got to play golf with him and my daughter, and he's got a young family that is full of golfers that are going to be coming up and looking pretty good here soon. But anyway, that was just a little bit about what I got to do. PK, how you doing, buddy?
Pretty good, man. Just, uneventful. Watched football and hung out with the family, all weekend. So, but, it's Texans locked up the 5th seed today. I thought they were going to choke it away. I know this is not a Texans podcast, but, I really did think they were going to choke away the 5th spot. But look, in all fairness, the backups played the second half. So they did get the 5th, and then they'll play the winner of tonight's game that's going on right now, Pittsburgh and Baltimore, at one of those two spots. Probably the early game on Saturday coming up. So, but other than that, man, it's just been hanging out with the fam, back to the grind tomorrow. My vacation days are over. So, like I said, back to the grind. But let's get to this Astros talk. We kind of wanted to, like we've talked about in several episodes where, it's the off season. There's not really a bunch of movement. Obviously, we had the signing of Tetsuya last week, which we talked about in length. That was the night that Bryles wasn't with us. So we'll kind of get, his thoughts on it here in a minute. But also, we wanted to look at the bullpen, right, and the rotation one last time, going into, now it's January 4th. Pitchers and catchers report in 6 weeks, right? And me and Bryles were talking offline before we went on, like spring training from a pitching perspective is going to be really interesting just because of the amount of pitchers that we currently have, right? And so we want to kind of discuss about that. And then I've got some stats, some projections for our lineup to kind of finish this thing out. So Bryles, let's get this thing started, man. Let's go with the bullpen, right? Let's start there. What are you seeing with the bullpen? What should we be looking for here in the next 6 weeks once spring starts?
I think there's going to be a huge competition in the bullpen. This bullpen right now is set up to where you've got guys that are going to be in AAA starting off the season that shouldn't be there. I am shocked at the quality of what we've got compared to what I originally thought we were going to end up with. The signing of Tatsuyama Imai was huge. And the reason it was huge is because it shook up that starting rotation. That solidified us at the number 2 pitching spot. And then because we were talking about, and I even talked about this. I said, we got just a bunch of guys that were thrown into the rotation. It's like obviously Hunter Brown's number 1. And then you've got guys back there. And then we had some signings, obviously, prior to MI signing that were a little bit, I'm not going to say lackluster, but wasn't exactly what every Astros fan was expecting, right? So anyway, it did kind of leave a big cloud on what was going on in the rotation. I still think that there are some spots that aren't solidified, like that 4 and 5 maybe spot, maybe only it's the 5 spot. But to that point, the reason I even am talking about the rotation when PK was talking about the bullpen is that pushes some of these guys into a spot where they need to probably go into the bullpen. I think the biggest guy on that list that we had just pegged as a starter is going to be Lance McCullers Jr. Lance McCullers Jr. He's still under contract. He has had so many injuries. He's had a very hard time coming back, and he's done the best job he possibly could, recovering, recouping, getting in there, getting all the work done. And then after that, we saw starts where he made some really good starts. Well, let me say not really good starts. He had some good starts, and then he had some that were pretty ugly, not gonna lie. And I got to see a couple of those live. So I think he's actually going to be a huge benefit of the signing because now we can bump him into the bullpen. He's going to be able to change his work rotation on that. So he's not going out there trying to throw 5 innings at a time. He's going to be able to go out there and throw possibly, 25 pitches at most. And then he's done for the day. And then we can use him either 2 days later, the next day for a couple pitches if we need to, or something like that. I think with all the injuries that he's had, the way that his body reacts when he tries to throw the way that he does, this is definitely going to benefit him. So I want to see Lance McCullers Jr. in our bullpen coming up. Now, talking to the bullpen, this is going to bring up some other stuff. So I pulled every pitcher from our 40-man roster, and this is who I've got. This is going to be based on a 13-pitcher roster, coming into our 26-man roster that's going to break opening day. So I think you are going to see LMJ in there. He's going to be obviously pitcher number 6. De Los Santos, I think he has to be in there. If not, you're going to see him be off the 40-man roster. Brian King, Roddery Munoz, who we picked up as a Rule 5 draft pick. I don't see any reason why they don't start him unless he super falters in spring training. And then after that, you've got Okert, Bennett Sousa, Abreu setting up, and then Hader finishing it. So that is where I see the bullpen right now. And before I get any further, because I want to talk about 2 more things before we do, I want to go through my version of the rotation. And then I also want to talk about what that does to our AAA pitching staff. So, PK, what do you think about the bullpen right now? Do you think that what I've kind of predicted sounds right? Would you make any changes in
that? No. So the LMJ thing, right? He's coming into his final year, I believe. Yes, he's entering his final year of his contract. I agree with you. I don't think seeing him in the starting 5, right, your starting rotation is something that's going to be, I guess a good thing is an educated way to say it, right? A good thing for the organization. I think you've got, we'll talk about the rotation here in a minute, but I think with, like you touched on it, the injuries that he's had over the last several years, the outings that he put together last season when he was back and forth from being injured, it just doesn't show enough to justify him taking a starting position spot. I think he can come in and do long relief. Now, I think the other person that might be fighting him for some long relief might be AJ Blueball. We saw that towards the end of last season also. I don't even know if that was on your bullpen, but he's a guy that can go back and forth, right? Because you don't want to have him up just going as a reliever when you can keep him down in Sugarland to have him continue to get more starts, work on his things, right? Stretch his arm out more instead of pitching every few days for a couple of innings. So you had Roddery right in there. Yep. I think he has to stay on the 40-man roster because of the Rule 5 draft. If he doesn't, then he goes back to the team that we picked him up from. So I think he's going to at least get the benefit of the doubt to show what he has in spring, what we can do with him. So I agree with that one. De Los Santos, we saw what the guy can do, just like he did in the second half of the season. I think he got a little fatigued towards the end because he started getting rocked around, right? So now he's going to have a full offseason with the organization, be able to hopefully strengthen his arm more to where he doesn't hit that wall towards the end of the season in 26. Okert, I'm good with Okert in there. Brian King held it down as like the seventh inning guy and 8th inning guy whenever Hader got hurt and Abreu had to move to the closer, right? Bennett Sousa, I really like Bennett Sousa. I really do. For me, he came out of nowhere last season. Too. Those gas. He's a lefty. Now I know we have a plethora of lefties in our bullpen, right? I think the only righties at the current moment are going to be De Los Santos, Abreu, and I don't know what Roddery what arm Roddery is, right? But you've got Okert, King, and Hader and Sousa. I really like Sousa, and just as you were reading those guys off, right? I can envision either a 6-7 being a 6th, 7th inning being I lost my train of thought with that stupid thing the kids do. I can see a 6th, 7th inning
Don't do that.
Bennett Sousa or Brian King or vice versa. Yeah. Bennett King or Bennett Sousa or Brian King. I can see that either way, right? Sixth inning or 7th inning. Abreu is going to be your 8th inning guy. We know that. Hader's going to be a 9th inning guy, right? And I know we talked about on several episodes before where if you have that 6th through 9th inning guy, 4 guys, you've just shortened the game incredibly, right? You've just shortened it, right? Because you're even though we want our starters to go 5+, 6+ innings, if you've got 4 guys on that back end that can come in and shut them down and go out there and do their holds to get it to the bullpen, like I'm ready. I'm here for it, right? So I like your bullpen that you currently have. I think the only guy at the moment it would be the AJ Blueball thing. With Lance, like I said, man, it sucks because I think his best days are well past. It's really unfortunate because of what this guy means to this organization from 2017. But man, those injuries just got him. And his contract is really high for a guy that's been hurt for 2.5 seasons, and then last season, just didn't show that he had it all back. So hopefully with a full healthy offseason like he's having now, he can come back and maybe he can be a spot starter. Like you had him as a 6th, right? As a 6th guy, right? So the Astros do like to do 6-man rotations, right? To spread out the starts by their starting guys. So he could be a part of the 6-man rotation, definitely be a spot start. So I like the bullpen the way it's currently constructed. But yeah, dude, I'm and everything goes off of health, and we all know that. We can all go back to last year. I mean, we just Hader going down in August, right? Like that was terrible. I mean, it was terrible. I mean, Brian Abreu, came in and did his thing as best he could. He's just not really a closer. This is you can hear the broadcasters from the national level and the regional level, like especially if you listen to John Smoltz, who I think is fantastic on the play by the color analyst. A 9th inning pitcher's mentality is completely different from an 8th inning guy, right? Like the 8th inning guy comes in obviously to get it to the closer, but in that closer spot, I mean, every pitch is magnified because of you're trying to close this game out, right? And then you get into the postseason and with that closer, I mean, his job is to close that thing out. This one mistake can ruin a series, and so Abreu, Abreu being our 8th inning guy, like he's the best 8th inning setup guy in the league, in my opinion. Like honestly, that's not really being a homer. Right? I really think he's the best 8th inning guy. Now, there are several times that you scratch your head and you're like, damn, Abreu. I mean, feel free to not give a lot of traffic on there before you get the 3rd out, But on paper, Bennett Sousa, Brian King, Abreu, and Hader on your back end, I'm here for
it. Dude, Abreu reminds me of Dotel back in the day. It's like he was that one dude that was super dominant in the 8th inning, but it's like you put him in the 9th. Don't get me wrong, he couldn't do it. It's just that it wasn't his strongest suit. So that was a huge point you made, man. I really like that one.
Yep.
So just real quick, going to the rotation. I know you guys got to touch on it. I was unable to be on that podcast or whatever. So on the first, but I did want to say that. So the rotation that I've got going forward right now is, if I had to predict it today, is Brown. Obviously, MI is going to be our number 2. I said that, I didn't think that we were going to get anyone of that caliber, especially at the number 2 spot. So that definitely sews that up. So Brown, MI, then I've got Javier, then I got Arrighetti, and then I've got the traveling secretary or assistant to the traveling secretary, Jason Alexander, is our number 5. I think he earned it after everything he did last season. That guy looked so good in the second half of the season. There was a point for probably 6 weeks he was the best pitcher on the staff, short of Hunter Brown. And sometimes when we were expecting Hunter Brown to come out there and be the stopgap guy when we had a 2-game losing streak, he couldn't get it done either. And it wasn't necessarily his fault, just saying that we weren't scratching enough runs across the board to go out there and get the win for him. For whatever reason, Jason Alexander was that guy, even if he was given his quality starts, whatever the case may be. But I think he definitely earned that number 5 spot if I am predicting that rotation as of today. And then saying that, this is what our AAA pitching staff looks like. And this is based on our 40-man roster right now, so I want you to understand this. But we're looking at Ronel Blanco, who's on IR right now. He's going to be hanging out until he's ready to go. Same thing with Brandon Walter, who just got off of TJ, and Hayden Wesneski. So those 3 guys, they're on our 40-man roster. Don't get me wrong, they're going to be looking good later, but at the same time, they got a lot of rehab starts to do.
Hey,
So
what was your rotation again? Your starting rotation?
Brown, Imai, Javier, Arrighetti, and Alexander.
All right, what about Burrows and Weiss?
That's what I'm getting to. So we traded for Burrows and Weiss. Something's got to happen.
Yeah.
We either have to go with 14 guys in our pitching staff to start this opening roster, or you're going to have the most ridiculous AAA starting roster of all time. I mean, you're looking at JP France, AJ Bluebaugh, Mike Burrows, Colton Gordon, Miguel Uola, who I'm assuming is going to go from AA to AAA and stick there, and Ryan Weiss. That is insane. So I potentially think that they could either go with a 6-man rotation, even just to start the season off straight up out of spring training, or like I said, if they send those guys down to AAA, I mean, don't get me wrong, they're going to be getting their starts as they need to. They're going to be getting their rest time, their work, everything they need to do. But we're looking at being, just from this one signing, super rich in our starting rotation and what we can actually pick from down in AAA. Now, here's the one thing I'm really hoping we don't do. I'm hoping that Dana Brown doesn't go, oh, hey, look, we've got a couple extra starters. Let's see what we can turn it into. Because we all saw what happened from the standpoint of injuries and all that, how it wrecked our rotation, how it wrecked our bullpen, how it wrecked our, outfield especially. We had guys going out there starting that, we normally wouldn't. But at the same time, look, I'm glad those guys got a whole lot of work, and they made us super proud in Los Angeles last year. Yeah, just to remind everybody of that too. And I love doing that, just to
18-1, just in case you forgot the score.
Yeah, just in case. So anyway, and this doesn't even bring up, like I said, Jaden Murray. Who else did I not mention on that? I think that was it, because the other guys, like I said, were hurt. But you brought up a great point with Mike Burrows and Ryan Weiss. Now, these 2 guys, we've got to fit in somewhere. That is the whole thing. I don't think either one of them should be in the bullpen, but at the same time, they should both compete for that number 5 spot. But with the way Alexander pitched, the only way I can see is if he continues that, is if either Arrighetti doesn't progress through his rehab stints that we saw at the end of last year and what he came back from, or if Javier all of a sudden slips and goes through. But at the same time, if either one of those guys does slip, we've got 2 guys that can step in right away. And we're not even talking about the AAA guys that we were using last year. And we're not talking about the 2024 pitcher in our starting rotation pitcher in JP France, because I personally, after seeing him, I don't think he's ready yet. But we potentially, as of this moment, I would say have 8, almost 9 starting pitchers that we could put in a 5-man rotation. So I don't know if they're going to expand to go to a 14 pitcher roster and use 6, or if they're going to end up having to use it for another position player. So we'll see what happens. But I will tell you that this one signing, and I'm not kidding, took me from what are the Astros doing right now with their entire pitching staff to holy crap, we are actually set up really, really well. So anyway, that was kind of what I took from the rotation. That was kind of what I took from AAA. I know I just spewed out a whole bunch of information, but PK, please let me know what you think about all that.
Yeah, so I pulled up Arrigetti's his 10 appearances going back to last season. Right, this is going to be from August 30th to the 16th. I'm crazy. This is going to be it's his last 10 games, right? And it was pretty subpar for him. These are actually the wrong stats because it takes some back into 25 or into 24. So let me do the last 5. Give me 1 second here. All right, so here's what we got. These are the last 5. So this is going to be the 6th of August to the 30th. He was 0-4 with the ERA of 5.26, 23 Ks. Right. So now we know he was coming back off the broken finger from getting hit by a line drive during BP. Right. I think he had another issue. I think he actually had another issue when he came back. Right. It was definitely not the Arrigetti that we expected to see coming back. It sure as hell, even prior to the injury, wasn't the Arrigetti that we were expecting coming off of a 24 season. Right. So I think your 4 and 5 guys, those two, the 4, Arrigetti's got to prove that he can hold down that number 4 spot, in my opinion. Right. We can't just, just give him the spot and say, hey, here's the spot because you're, third year in, right? Prove that you can be that guy. We can't be sending this guy out there in 5 games and go 0-4 with the 5.26, right? And I'm not saying he's going to equal those stats in those games, but you kind of understand where I'm getting at. Absolutely. The Jason Alexander thing, we were on that train every start in the second half of the season. Braz, you touched on it. Like, that dude was the dude that was quality start after quality start, right, against subpar teams and against the top teams that we played, right? Like, it was completely unexpected, but he was the guy that was going to stop the losses, right? Like you talked about, he was going to get us on a winning streak or continue that winning streak. The thing about that, and I try not to be Debbie Downer, right? But we've talked about it shortly after the season ended, was what's the realistic expectation that he can duplicate the way he pitched in that second half of the season, right? I mean, it's going to be pretty high. The chances of it actually happening, I would say, were a lot lower than they are of him repeating that type of output that he gave, right? So now I'm here for it. I mean, it's a great story, and I want him to come back and succeed to pitch to the level that he was that second half of the season. My thing is like, well, how long of a leash does Espada maybe not outwardly verbalize, but inwardly just battle with? Like, how long of the leash he's like, okay, like, if this guy gives me, if we start having like three outings in a row that are subpar or 4, whatever it is, do we change it up, right, to where we elevate Burrows to the number 5 guy? I think Burrows is more probably a 4 in our rotation, right? Arrigetti can hold down the 5. This is probably why I'm not a manager, but I'm of the, prove your worth, right? I mean, I'm not going to keep running you out there every 5 days as a number 3 and give us shit, right? Or number 4, just because, because you got an SP next to your name. I know you want that continuity within that starting rotation, but I think you gave up quite a bit to get Burrows here with the expectation of him being a starting pitcher on your rotation. So I don't think him battling for a number 5 spot is probably in the cards. I mean, we'll find out here in at least 6 weeks. I definitely think Burrows is going to be in that rotation somewhere, like starting off, right? Whether it's the 3 or 4. I mean, because Javier wasn't the Javier that we expected, that we were used to. I expect that we were used to late in that season too. So that's kind of where I'm at with the Burrows thing, with the Weiss. I mean, he's coming from the KBO, right? We talked about it. KBO is kind of somewhere between AAA and the major league level, right? Looked good over there. I think you do put him over here, in West Palm Beach, and you kind of see what you have, see how good of a spring he has, and then kind of make that decision coming into the beginning of the season. So your bottom part of your starting rotation is where most of these battles are happening. That 4, 5, 6 guy, because they are going to go to a 6-man rotation. There's no way they will not do that during the season, right? So you
I
just
think
need
you're
to
right.
know. You just need to know who that 4, 5, and 6 guy is going to be. And again, if they want to give one of these guys, skip a start, you have blue ball. We saw them call him up to pitch a game and send him back down, right? And so you've got a lot of competition at that bottom of your rotation. I mean, you've got Brown, Imai, and Javier, 100% are penciled in 1, 2, 3, and then I think 4 and 5 is kind of open.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you on that. And I even struggled putting Javier at the number 3. I know that that's the way the Astros have him there right now, but with him, with the reputation that he has, with what he's done in the past, I mean, I don't see any reason why he's not our number 3 unless he can't perform after the injury. We've got a bunch of guys that have had a whole lot of injuries, and I think that 3, 4, and 5 honestly could be open. We both said it. The way Alexander pitched the last half of the season, I could put him at number 3 right now, assuming that he continues that. But you brought up a good point. I think that a lot of these scouts are seeing the exact same thing that, or you and I are seeing. You and I are just a couple guys here talking in front of a camera, in front of a whole bunch of Astros fans, right? But think about like all the scouting nerds from every other Major League Baseball team that are like, oh, okay, well, this is what Alexander did last time. This is how he got us out. So they're going to adjust to that. So I think you're going to see a little bit of adjustment. Not to say that he was brand new in the league or anything, but at the same time, he outperformed what he had done previously when he put on that Astros uniform. So we'll see what that turns into for next season. Like I said, he could potentially be number 3. We don't know. I'm not saying that Arrighetti is a 100% lock at that number 4 spot. That's where I had him based upon what he was doing prior to the finger injury that knocked him off the roster before that. So I don't know. It could go a ton of different ways. I do agree. I think with what we gave up to get Mike Burrows, we got to like wedge him in there somewhere. Where he gets put in is going to be a mystery until we find out what shakes out in spring training. I'm telling you, this is going to be one of the biggest spring trainings the Astros have had in years, because this isn't like a battle for 1 or 2 roster spots. There are battles with guys that are super talented going into this that are going to be looking for pitching spots, and we're not even talking about position players. So I'm super excited to see what happens come the end of February.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, there's Weiss, McCullers, Alexander. Let's just say blue ball for conversation's sake. Okay, it's 4 guys for one spot, that number 5 spot. Like essentially, in my opinion, there's 4 guys trying to get that, to nail down that 5th. I think LMJ is going to get the opportunity to do it because of his past and his LMJ, and we all want him to succeed. I think he's going to get the opportunity to do it. I just don't see him being that fifth starter. I think it's probably. I think I like your standing as the Alexander, right? Jason Alexander taking that number 5. Number 6. Number 6 could probably be
LMJ,
or but Weiss is a starting pitcher. Like, he's a starting pitcher, right? So he's either going to be starting or at Daikin, or he's going to be starting in Sugarland. I mean, I don't think they're going to put him in the bullpen, like, at all. LMJ, we've already moved into the bullpen. He has a starting pitching, obviously a huge background. I think that's kind of an easier transition or sell to LMJ. Like, hey, man, look, we talked about last season. You want to extend your career, maybe get one last contract, right? Because your contract's ending with us. You want to try to get one more payday. That's in the pen, right? So, like you said, man, it's going to be a very interesting bullpen or pitching things to watch out regarding pitching come spring training. So it'll be a fun time for us, man. But before we get out of here, I saw something on Twitter that I wanted to talk to you about. So look, this doesn't give positions of the players. I mean, we all kind of know what positions these are. And this is as it stands right now. This is going to be the projected WAR and home runs according to Fangraph Streamer, right? So here we go. Pena, 3.5 WAR. We all saw how high his WAR was last season. I mean, he was basically behind Judge all season, right? That's how important this dude was to this club. So 3.5 WAR, 18 home runs. Paredes, 2.0 WAR, 18 home runs. Jordan, 4.6, assuming he's healthy, right? I mean, obviously. 30 home runs. Altuve, 2.6 with 20 home runs. Correa, 3.2 with 16. Walker, a 1.2 with 24. Yiner, 2.5 with 19. Jesus Sanchez, 1.3 with 15. And then Jake the Rake, 1.6 with 9. Now, they didn't do Zach Cole and Cam Smith, right? And again, this is not like the official lineup, right? They just kind of did this. So this, of course, is assuming that Paredes and Walker are still on the same team, right? There's still that piece of the puzzle that we've talked about for so many times. Where's Paredes going to play, right? How are we going to fit him into the lineup position wise? So take it for what it is. What's your initial reaction? I'll go with yours. Let me go with mine, and I'll get yours.
Got it.
The Pena thing, with his WAR, I think it might be a little bit higher. I feel like he was higher last season. He's at the leadoff spot. He is setting the tone for the team. He is a cheetah, right? Like, he has incredible speed. He's got a great glove. We saw how important he was to setting the table for the guys behind him, Altuve, Paredes, Walker, right? And Jordan in a few games, 40-something 6 games that he played. So I think the WAR is just a little bit low. If he hit 18 home runs, I would be happy with that. Like, I'd be pretty damn happy with that. I don't see him that big of a power guy. He is a hits for average type guy to power alleys. I mean, he's got pop. Don't get me wrong. I just don't know if the home runs are going to be that high. And then the Yainer Diaz, like, coming into 25, that was my stupid hot take that he was going to be into the AL MVP top 5, right? Coming off of what he did in 24, I expected a bigger power surge from him into 25. We all kind of saw the inconsistencies that guy had at the plate, from defensively to offensively, right? I just don't see. I think he still hit 15 plus bombs. He has the pop, right? He does have the pop. He needs to work on his plate discipline. We hope that the new hitting coach, helps the whole team out as a whole. So this is a couple things. All the other guys, I mean, Paredes, Jordan, Altuve, Correa, Walker, if he does hit his 24, I think that's going to be another. I think it'd be like 5+ seasons. I think, or 5 seasons with 20 bombs plus if he does that. He's got a short porch there and left, so he definitely is capable of doing it. We know how streaky he is. He's got a lot of pop still in the bat. So I think it's pretty accurate. Maybe the Yainer Diaz one, with the home runs is a little bit high. But what's your reaction to it?
My first reaction is I 100% guarantee, or excuse me, 100% agree with you on Jeremy Pena. I think Jeremy Pena is going to be a superstar moving forward. That is one signing that we have got to figure out before it even becomes an issue, because I think the WAR that they're projecting right now is going to be low. I believe you had, let's see, this guy over here.
Yeah.
Altuve, you had him at 2.6.
2.6 with 20.
With 20. Okay. I think his home runs will be a little bit higher than that. I like Altuve. I think with the new batting regime that we have coming in, that they're going to rein him in a little bit. Please, God, tell me that they are going to rein him in a little bit,
right.
Because they just let him do whatever he was going to do. The other one that really kind of stood out to me was Jake Myers. You had him at 1.6 with 9 home runs.
Mm-hmm.
That's way low for Jake Myers. If he is healthy, that dude's going to hit at least 15 bombs, if not more than that. And what we saw from him was hitting for a high average too. So I think his more minimums would be closer to a 2, which I really hope he does that and proves everybody else wrong, especially the Astros when they were trying to trade him there, during the offseason. And don't get me wrong, I understand they were trying to trade him high when we've had some kind of lackluster years from Jake Myers. But he looked like he took that next step. So if he can keep taking that next step after the injury, then I think he's going to be a very valuable center player or center fielder moving forward. Other than that, they all pretty much seemed okay. Walker in the middle, it's as long as he's got protection around him hitting, he might be able to squeeze out, 25 home runs, 25 to 30, somewhere in that range, because he does have that, that pop to actually make that happen. I think Paredes was spot on. I think Correa was spot on. Like you were saying, he and Pena, they work the power alleys and extra base hits more than anybody else. So I honestly, you probably hit the nail on the head with your prediction from last year. I think your biggest question mark in there is Diaz. I don't know what he is at this point. Is he the 2024 catcher that we knew? Is he the 2025 catcher, or is he something in the middle? We don't know. So we'll kind of see what happens there.
Yeah, no, something's got to change for him. The king of ground, GIDP, like it has to end. It's got to end for him. You talk about just rally killers all the freaking time.
Agreed.
You know what I'm saying? So, look, man, good episode. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Make sure you go like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go find us on X. Go find us on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok. We post a lot on TikTok now. So go find us there. Please subscribe to our channels, man. We appreciate all the support that we're constantly getting daily. Tell your friends, tell the fam. We got a podcast you want to listen to. Make sure you look up the Juice Box Heroes. But until then, man, I hope you have a great rest of your evening. Have a great start to your week. We'll be back on our normal Thursday for the next episode. But until then, I'm PK. That's Bryles, yeah. And this is the Juice Box Heroes. I was gonna say I got the Bryles and BB Bones like going at the same time. So let's do that again. I'm PK and that's Bryles. This is the Juice Box Heroes. Y'all have a good one. It's tough hitting all these damn buttons behind over here.
I hear you, man. I was just looking at the Astros website. I'm looking forward to that Bruce Bolt College weekend. That's going to be interesting, man.
No, we need to set up the games to go to that one.